Alright, it's clear as day that this video is about chapter 89 instead of 88, so let's just get this out of the way. I was working on 88 when I up and decided to have one of my worst weeks in a very long time. Despite how horrible life was going, I did try to continue. However, I was held back by an aspect of last week's chapter that drained me of any interest in talking about the subject. But we'll get there soon enough. Hello everyone, I'm Ozzy, and this is my Eden 089 chapter analysis. Starting off with some Draken Joe goodness, Noah mentions his ranking as one of the Oración Ces Galactica, a title that isn't mentioned often enough that I admittedly thought I heard it in a fever dream. Why does this matter? Well, that's because though we can assume there are bigger baddies out there in the cosmos for our heroes to bump into, we now have confirmation that there are at least 5 more on the same level as Draken Joe. This sounds like a bad time for the crew, but I would honestly be pretty interested to see them. It also doesn't help that there's a chance pissing off Joe will likely piss them off too. Moving on, it's mentioned that Draken Joe has a second moniker known as Undead Joe. Personally, I feel that this is a bit of overkill considering how oppressive of a force he has already been, but we will see if he ends up needing this power or if it ends up handled more strategically. As for what it might be and a possible weakness, my thoughts go to the concept of clones, and shutting down the means of production as a way of halting his resources. Okay, moving to the stuff I just couldn't care less about, let's talk about Noah. Going back to what was said last week, I hope he's lying. I hope deep down he's in this for selfish reasons and is only doing things as a way to manipulate the situation into his favor. I am very likely wrong though. So what's wrong with Noah? What is the issue that has caused me to feel this way? I want to start off by pointing out that it doesn't have anything to do with him dropping in and giving free info to the crew. You see, if he had an already established relationship with any of the crew prior, I wouldn't mind him at all. However, the issue is his contradictory actions thus far. Before we get into the big meat of that, I want to talk about a smaller issue that I have with him regarding other gear. As far as we have understood, other gear is something you use and something you develop. Even if you don't understand the fine-tuned details, it isn't something you are just born with. That's why Shiki uses the same other gear as the Demon King, and the same reason why Homura was not just born with a sword, but uses a sword intentionally as her master did. The reason I bring this up is because it feels that Noah implies he was just born with his, and implies the same for Rebecca. We have clearly seen Rebecca on the Eden Zero developing an other gear in her body. Granted, in an unconventional way, but what bothers me is the implication that it is the only reason she is where she is today. Now, I won't deny that she has a pretty busted other gear, but it aggravates me for him to deny how much she earned every single victory, except for Nino. Getting back to the main point of why I don't like Noah, as I said, his actions have been contradictory. He says one thing, but we as an audience have seen him to be something else. To be forced to swallow this as the truth leaves a bad taste. He clearly put Rebecca and the crew in danger by making them an unwilling target of Draken Joe. He is literally responsible for any and all damage done to Lobelia, and by association the crew if anything happens to them in this second round. It's all well and fine if this guy is doing things for his own selfish reasons, but don't try to tell me he's been a good guy all along when his assistance equates to getting somebody to do his dirty work. I don't care if he dies, and if Blue Garden ends up just being a figment of his imagination or something like that, I'll only be sad for Clarice. Okay, now that that is out of the way, let's talk about something I've been looking forward to for a good while now. The final half of this chapter not only features Phi, but his opponent is another person I have been dying to see in combat, Hermit. I love ranged characters, so the fact that these two are up against each other is so awesome for me. Initially I was kind of disappointed with Phi because I thought his other gear was as simple as that, just spewing fire everywhere. I had to remind myself that simply manipulating Ether is close to Ether gear, but it's not the same. and we've seen plenty of characters such as Laguna using an element in various ways, but still having a set technique that we would call an ether gear. I thought it was pretty cool of him to disintegrate through the grate so that he could regroup back to his sniping position, and his actual ether gear, flame ammo, was a cool idea in which he could guarantee a kill if his shot connects by making sure his bullet explodes from within. On the side of Hermit, we had some cool hacking techniques to use anything at her disposal as a weapon. It does, however, make me wonder how she would fare if there were no guns or robotics in the area to hack. However, it seems that Hermit is capable of enhancing her latent abilities to some extent, so she would likely be fine. All in all, I'm confident that we've only seen the bare minimum of what she's capable of. I'm kind of disappointed we didn't get to hear her moniker like we did with Witch, but I'm sure we will eventually. Vi was kind of stupid. I don't mean that as a criticism to the writing, I'm just agreeing with what Hermit says at the end of the fight. His method of fighting and his ether gear don't match at all. As a sniper, he has the worst kind of disadvantage possible in that he can be detected due to a heightened body temperature. If his goal is to make people explode from the inside out, he probably didn't need a gun to accomplish that. Despite being the most sinister of the Element 4, he sure was the dumbest. But that's all for this video. I apologize for the tardiness, and despite life not being back in functioning order, at the very least there are more positives than negatives, if I don't think about it too hard. Anyway, let me know down in the comments which fight you guys are looking forward to next, and feel free to follow me on Twitter to go yell at me there. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next video, Seal.